everybody, Gina DeLuca here. All right, so I am, as you may have guessed, set up for a straight pour. I have a 20 by 20 deep edge gallery wrapped canvas here. This base color that I have is a custom blend. The colors that are in this background slash base coat color. We have Liquitex Basics in Titanium White. We have the Quinacridone Magenta. And Cadmium Yellow Deep Hue. Still trying to get this lighting situation figured out. It's still not quite right. It's not quite right. We'll get there. This beautiful, beautiful color is the Arteza Bordeaux Red. It is one of my favorite reds on the planet. Love that color. I have the 24 karat gold in the Americana Decor Metallics. Wonderful cell maker. And then this color is just that. I just ran out of room in that cup, so I had to move to a separate cup. And I have the DecoArt Americana Decor Satin Enamel in pure white, which is mixed about 50-50 with the titanium white. These paints are mixed 1 part paint to 2 parts Floetrol. That mixture is then thinned to the proper consistency with my mixture of a 90% water, 10% Floetrol. The proper consistency that we're going for is, it is making a mound, but is disappearing very quickly. It's coming off of the stick very, very easily in a nice thin stream. So there is a bit of substance to it, but it is still thin. It's like that magic Goldilocks zone. And I go for, this is about a 2 on my consistency scale, and I do a 2 because I'm using metallics. I could go to a 1 if I weren't using metallics, but because I'm using metallics, if I go to a 1, it'll just kind of break apart and make a sheen across the whole painting, which can be very pretty, but that's not what I'm going for today. Before we get started, have you seen the Fluid Art inspiration cards? If you have, you can fast forward about a minute, but if you have not, what we have are 52 cards. There are 42 technique cards, and each technique card has an associated video here on the YouTube. This is the picture of that particular painting. This box down here contains a tip for that particular technique, and here at the bottom we have the color palette that was used in that particular painting. And then these 2 boxes can be used together as the basis of a 2-color palette, or you can build off of those colors. There are also 8 bonus color palette cards. Each one has 5 color palettes. You can use all of the colors or just some of the colors, mix and match the bonus color palette cards with the technique cards, and you have more combinations than you could ever paint in a lifetime. These are available at my website, ginadeluca.net, and also at amazon.com. And if you get them from Amazon, please do leave feedback. They are sticklers for algorithms over there, and feedback is a huge part of it. All right, this is a pretty big canvas, and big canvases tend to be thirsty. And what I mean by that is, if I put my base coat down and I let this sit long enough to fill up my cup with my pouring paints, a lot of times what'll happen is it'll get thick on you because the canvas is just drinking up that moisture in the paint, and so it thickens up on you pretty quickly. So I am going to put some paint in a cup first. All right, I'm going to start with some of this base coat slash background color. Just enough to cover the bottom there. And I'm going to do about half of each of these cups. So typically I do 1 layer of each and allow them to blend. But this time I'm going to do 2 layers. But I'm still going to pour from up high and try to get some churning action. So this is a color, this Bordeaux Red, that I would also use as a background color. So you'll notice it doesn't really blend or sync so much. It's not really meant to. I kind of want them both to wind up in the center. Now the gold should sync. Always check your consistency before you pour into the cup. The sauce may thicken upon standing. Okay, a bit more of this base color. The Satin Enamel White. Bordeaux again. I love these spoons from fluidart.co. Really let you get it all out of your cup. Spatulas, not spoons, but you know what I mean. Okay, the gold again from up high. You can see the gold is already popping up. It's already trying to make cells. More of our base color. And the Satin Enamel White. Usually I will slightly tint when I'm doing the Satin Enamel White. I will slightly tint that color, but I really wanted that contrast in this one. Okay. Actually, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait to add a bit to the top there because the cells will just keep popping through. So let's lay down our base coat. This will give something for your paints to slide around on. If you don't have something for your paints to slide on, what happens is your poured paint, the paint that you pour onto the canvas, something has to stick to the canvas if it is a naked canvas. And so what happens is, as you tilt your poured paint, the edges will just disappear because the paint will roll over top of itself. But if you lay down a base coat, that gives the poured paints an opportunity to just stretch and slide around on your canvas. And so you have a better chance of controlling your composition. Sometimes some of the coolest stuff that happens is on the edge, and you would completely lose the option of keeping that if you didn't have a base coat. Now, if you lay down a base coat and you're still finding that your edges are disappearing, that your paint is rolling over top of itself, your base coat may be too thick. I mix my base coat to be the same, if not slightly thinner than my poured paints, so that it does not fight back. And you will notice that it's fighting back if your nice round circle suddenly has a little dip in it. it hit a thicker section of paint, and your base coat is fighting back. All right, my base coat is down. I'm going to bring out old Bernie 2 times here and give it a quick torch. Pop some of the bubbles that have appeared in this base coat, living up to his name. It's a good thing to pop the bubbles in your base coat before you pour, because those bubbles will come up through your pour and it will bring paint with it. That's why I always use a base coat that is in my pour. I make sure that the colors are within the pour, so I don't have to worry about little pinhead size cells popping up in my painting that don't match. If I weren't using white in this painting and I used a white base coat, and those little cells popped up, it would bother me. Okay, so you can see I put some more paint in the base color on top to give it a chance to sell. It needs that to react with. And man, this lighting is still not doing it for me. Too many shadows. Let's make a mess, shall we? We'll do a couple of slow rings here. And how you hold it and how far away from the canvas you let it pour and churn, it has different effects. Bring in my Fibonacci. The very center of your canvas is what is going to be stretched the most. So I do my best to make sure that the center is interesting. I'm just going to fix my little swirl there. If your dismount is not a perfect 10, you can fix it. It's okay. All right, now I am going to pop many, many bubbles. This technique creates a lot of bubbles. But quite often it is those bubbles that wind up giving you the cells, because it is pulling up those cell making paints. Now, what is making the cells? There are 2 different ways that you can get cells without silicone. One of them is via the Rayleigh-Taylor instability, and that is when you have paints of different densities, and the heavier one will sink into the lighter one, and that will create cells. So if I use titanium white and black, titanium white is going to be your heaviest pigment, which is why you'll often see that I use it for my base color, my background color. Background color is the first color that goes into the cup. It is typically the one that appears in between the cells. So if I were using black and white, the white would sink and it would create a white lacing with black cells. But this is due to a hydrophobic effect. This is not the Rayleigh-Taylor instability. This is due to certain paints being glossier and other paints being more matte. And the paints that are matte push away the paints that are glossier. And so that's how you wind up with those cells. So the DecoArt Americana Decor line, even if it says satin, whatever it says, they're very matte. They dry matte in comparison to like Liquitex Basics, most of the basics anyway. The Liquitex Basics Cadmium Yellow Light Hue will sell. It is more matte than the other basics paints. Just an FYI. That was how the straight pour, the first straight pour was discovered. I accidentally mixed them too thinly. And I would have never bought that color because it was very, very bright to me. But a friend was moving and gave me a bunch of craft paints, and I needed a yellow because I was pouring a rainbow in a cup and I didn't have a yellow. And so I used that yellow. Got a ton of cells. And that began my journey of figuring out what happened. Why did it do that? So if you want to get my whole theory about straight pours, it was video number 20 where I figured it out, and I show you how to test all of your paints to see which ones would be more likely to sell, which ones would be better for background colors, and which ones are better for cell makers. If I remember to link it, I will. Okay, so we let this sit and allow for some of the cells to pop up. So you see these little bubbles that I had popped on the edge. It brings up a tiny little pinpoint of paint, but because it's hydrophobic, it pushes the other paints away. And so the cells get bigger. And the bigger they are here in my puddle, the bigger they will be once I stretch them out. I think these are probably going to look really, really cool. Very interesting. Yeah, there's some really interesting formations going on here. So I'll be excited to see what happens with them. All right, let's give this one more torch. And I know this part is not so exciting and people probably fast forward through it, but I feel it is important for y'all to see exactly how long I wait before I actually tilt, because it does make a difference in the outcome. If I were to tilt this right away, I would probably still get cells, but it would be a lot of the little pop-up cells. Because people call them pearl cells. I call them pop-up cells because they usually appear on the edge where it's been stretched the most, and it appears after stretching. The Boulder cells are the ones that are kind of already here, and then I just stretch them out and they become bigger and more 3D. So generally, what happens is I get Boulder cells over here and I get pop-up cells over here. But because I did that slow ring, I'm going to get a little bit of everything all the way around, I believe. But if I just did it perfectly straight, boulders over here, pop-ups over here. All right. It looks like this corner is setting up. Nope, I think it's this corner. So we are going to tilt very slowly. If you see your paints running over itself, you're going too quickly. It will get there. And now I have the Beastie Boys stuck in my head. Let it flow, let yourself go, slow and low. I might get a copyright strike for that. I didn't say that. Okay. Whew. All right, I think I'm gonna hit this opposite corner. And I know this peach color, you know, just like kind of sitting on the canvas as a base coat looks like, oh, that's very peach. But next to the Bordeaux and the gold, it really tones down that peach color. That's one of the things I love to do, is play with the color palettes and take colors that typically when you look at it, you would be like, I don't know about that. But when you put it next to another color, magic happens. Okay, bringing the weight of the paint back to center before I change direction. The weight of your paint is going to be where your paint is moving the fastest. And by being mindful of where the weight of your paint is, you can really get pretty precise with pushing your paints around on your canvas exactly where you want them. You can see you can almost make corners. Oh boy, I'm starting to get a little wonky in the center. I'm moving too quickly, I think. I need to slow it down. Okay, I'm gonna turn it this way just because these big ones are heavy. It is definitely helpful to have these canvases on these cup hooks. That is how I level them, but I can also use it to pivot the canvas. So I'm not holding the full weight of the canvas. Some of the weight is on that cup. Or the cup hook, not the cup. C-hook, ceiling hook, whatever you want to call them. I know it feels like it's never going to get there, but it will get there. Okay. And now I will bring the weight of that paint back to the center. I will Put my painting back to where it's level. Thank you. Okay, well, I think I'm going to let this sit and see what happens. Okay, I'm going to clean up. I'm going to let this do whatever it's going to do, and I will bring you in for a close-up. Back in a few. Okay, here it is. Got some of the pop-up cell action kind of dispersed throughout. But the gold, I love the gold. I love the 24 karat gold. But where it's like laying over top of the peach color, it's really hard to tell. But like right here, that peach is underneath of that. I don't think there's an angle that I can get to show it to you. But it's not just gold. It's like the gold is layered over that peach. And it's super pretty. But there it is. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do like, share, and subscribe. Help a sister stay alive in this algorithm stuff. Do check out the description box below for links to my PayPal tip jar if you feel so inclined. The affiliate links. I have a couple of affiliate links in there. Arteza being one of them, where you can get that lovely Bordeaux Red. And DecoArt being another, where you can get those amazing cell makers. If you use those links provided to you, if you enter through those links, anything that you buy off of those websites, I will receive a small commission at no additional cost to you. And also in the description box, you will find the link to my website, GinaDeLuca.net, where you can find my art and music and the fluid art inspiration cards for sale. And of course, they are also available, the cards available at Amazon.com. And last but certainly not least, in the description box, you will find the link to our Facebook group, Go Make Some Art. Join us there. Post your masterpieces. Ask your questions. Get some inspiration. A good time is had by most. It is the internet after all. But that is it for me for today. I hope y'all have a beautiful day. Now go make some art.